Welcome to the Art of Procurement podcast with your host, Philip Eidson. Here, thought leaders share the trends, strategies, and tactics that you can use to elevate the role of procurement and your career.
Hi there, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Art of Procurement powered by SIG. And I'm really excited to share today's episode. Hitting publish on the show today is actually a culmination of a lot of thinking, a lot of reflection as I continue the evolution of Art of Procurement. Before I actually go into the details, though, I wanted to just start this week with some housekeeping. And just to let you know that I'm planning on attending 3 upcoming conferences here in the US over the next couple of months. So 2 on the East Coast and 1 here on the West Coast. So first of all, I'll be at ProcureCon in Direct East, which is at Amelia Island near Jacksonville in Florida. That's going to be February the 20th to the 22nd. And ProcureCon has very graciously offered me some recording space at the venue. So I'll be able to record a number of shows while on site. Actually, I think we have 3 in the books already. And this time, I'm not going to be fighting with the background noise of coffee machines, construction vehicles, waterfalls, the wildlife that have all formed the backdrop of some of my most recent on-site conference interviews. And then on February 27th, I plan on attending the first Spark conference by the team at Scout RFP in San Francisco. I've been attending a number of events over the past couple of years in San Francisco, and I've actually got to know the Scout team pretty well as well. In fact, you may recall back, I don't have the episode number, but it's something around the 50 mark. I actually interviewed Stan Garber, the president of Scout RFP. So it's going to be great to catch up with old friends and, of course, meet some new ones. And then in March, I'll be at the SIG Spring Summit in Washington, D.C. That's running from March the 26th to March the 29th. So I haven't yet finalized the plan for the summit yet, but I wanted to let you know that I will definitely be there. And so I say that because if you're planning on being at any of those events, please do let me know. It'd be great to catch up, get to know each other, and chat about all things procurement. One of the great things about recording shows on site and at an event is that it really provides access to more practitioner-side interviewees, but finding that quiet corner can be a challenge. On the one hand, I think I like recording in the open because you get to feel some of the atmosphere of the event, but the downside has been that, as we found in previous shows, can be a lot of background noise. There often is a lot of background noise, and that's out of my control. And I found, frankly, that the people who are working the event, they obviously have jobs to complete on the day. They don't really care at all for the fact that I'm sat next to them recording a show. Okay, so today is a solo show. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, I wanted to use it to bring some more colour to the hints and the references I've been making over the past probably month or so about Art of Procurement 3.0. It's been almost 2.5 years since that very first episode of Art of Procurement. And as some of you know, I got started for a couple of different reasons, really. First of all, I wanted to learn from others, others that had different experiences from mine and people that I looked up to professionally. And secondly, I wanted to share that learning with my peers in the procurement community. So my intention was always that by making these experiences, these case studies, strategies, visions for the future, by making those more accessible, it would help us all actually increase our individual and our collective impact. And so that first version of the show, it's what I call Art of Procurement 1.0. That was really all about dipping a toe in the water. It was about experimenting. It was figuring out if there was interest from potential interviewees to actually share their wisdom. And then, of course, an interest from procurement professionals in listening to those conversations. And I also wanted to try and challenge the status quo as well. And I really, when I reflect, I'm most fulfilled in my work, and perhaps like many of you, when there is a change element to it. And that change, it can be evolutionary or it can be revolutionary. When I look at the roles in my career, I've been most engaged and most successful, I think, when being a catalyst, when being in, having opportunities to be a catalyst. And we're in such a fortunate position as procurement professionals and as procurement leaders. Aside from a CEO or a CFO, I'd argue that there's really no others in a company with our breadth of exposure to all aspects of the business. we're the circulatory system for our organizations, really. We fulfill organizational needs, we solve challenges, we enable our companies to really take best advantage of revenue opportunities through the ability to effectively source the requisite material, the requisite services, or at least we have that potential. The challenge I often faced when working on the most fulfilling, the most strategic aspects of my job was actually getting bogged down in the fighting of fires, in checking process boxes, in spending time convincing skeptical stakeholders that I was actually a valuable resource and that I could actually help them accomplish their goals. And I wasn't sure how, but I knew Art of Procurement, when I very first started, could be a voice to challenge, to take on, and to evolve the status quo and the status quo that I found myself sometimes getting stuck in. Art of Procurement could help us fulfill the potential, the opportunities that I think we have available to us to make a positive difference for our organizations. And then based on the response, we put the first interviews out there. Based on the response from both listeners and interviewees, it was clear that there was definitely an interest. So about 18 months ago, I transitioned into what I called Art of Procurement 2.0. So in Art of Procurement 2.0, I brought in a team. I built operating processes to streamline the production process of podcasts. I began traveling to more events. We launched a weekly newsletter. I think the first one was called the Saturday Link Fest. It evolved into This Week in Procurement. We built a new site and really started to focus a little bit more on an Art of Procurement brand. At that time, I brought on a couple of sponsors as well to help cover some of the production costs. And when I look back, I'm really proud of what Art of Procurement has become and the doors that it's opened. A procurement multi-channel and a micro-learning business has grown out of Art of Procurement, as has the Palambridge consulting and advisory group, and lots of exciting partnerships with event producers and with industry groups. And in the course of what's probably 175 interviews that I've conducted spanning the Art of Procurement, we're on episode 169 today, of which I think about 125 of those were actually interviews. I did a number of interviews to the Procurement Revolution and then podcasts on behalf of other companies. Throughout all of those discussions, I've definitely learned an awful lot. And I think because of those conversations, my thinking is really constantly evolving between what I actively seek out to learn and then my ongoing experiences of actually putting this learning into practice and executing over the course of my client work. There's always different perspectives to consider. One fundamental perspective that's really come into sharper focus for me these past 6 months is that procurement is as much a way of being as it is a function. A lot of what we do, is to drive metrics like spend under management, a pursuit essentially to bring as much corporate spend under our control. But the reality is that anyone in the organization who has a need that can be fulfilled by a supplier is in some way, shape or form engaging in the act of procurement. And buying is an act that all of our stakeholders do every day. They do it in their personal lives, whether it's negotiate for a plumber or a gardener, negotiating a wedding, a car, buying a house. They don't forget how to buy when they get to work. And something else, quoting from this week's edition of This Week in Procurement, procurement is about responsibly caring for the long-term health and success of the enterprise. So it's something that all professionals share. So in practice, all professionals in an organization really are procurement players. So what does that mean about our role? Should our role as a centralized resource be to stop our colleagues from doing what they naturally do or to help empower them? And so that's where I really see our role is to help, it's to guide, it's to advise. And while I've always tried to approach my roles, I think from that perspective, it's become particularly clear to me how critical this mindset is to our ability to carry out what is our mission. And so reflecting on this led me to assess if Art of Procurement is actually effectively promoting this idea. And I came away thinking that I could be clearer, I could be more effective. And with that realization, I began designing Art of Procurement 3.0. My first step was to really work on articulating my why, to make sure that it was clear and that my work was consistent with it. So, first of all, let's step back. What is a why? And I'll quote from an article I came across on LinkedIn. I'm actually going to share this in the show notes. It was from Roseanne DeVos of Innovation Booster. And DeVos says that your why is about your values, it's about your beliefs, it's about your instincts. Your why serves as a compass. It gives you reason, it gives you purpose, and forces you to make choices from your intrinsic motivation. I'd encourage you all to watch, if you haven't already, Simon Sinek's inspiring TEDx talk. It's from actually back in 2009, which is also the premise of DeVos's article. And there's one statement that Sinek makes that particularly resonated with me. It's that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And Sinek suggests connecting with people based on a shared why, and he believes that's at the core of how leaders inspire action. And I'm going to come back to that thought in the future, especially as we seek new ways to deepen our impact with our stakeholders, ultimately our organizations. But the movement that Sinek created through his work was actually to inspire people to do things that inspire them. And in fact, that's Sinek's why. He lives to inspire people to do the things that inspire them. And finding your why takes some reflection. In my case, it also took a lot of help from others in the process. It's not about having a better job. It's not about earning more money, about traveling the world, buying a nicer house or a nicer car or paying for kids' college, all things that we might want. But your why is deeper than that. So what's my why? Well, I want people to generate fulfillment and to experience their lives as an opportunity to make a difference. And I'll kind of repeat that again. I want people to generate fulfillment and experience their lives as an opportunity to make a difference. The practical application for my why applied to my work is this. I'm fulfilled when I feel that I'm making a difference. I feel like I'm making a difference when I'm provoking, when I'm delivering, or I'm speeding up significant actions or transformation. It ties back to what I mentioned earlier about seeking opportunities to take on, to challenge, and to evolve the status quo. So put another way, I'm living my why when I'm being a catalyst. The journey of a catalyst, it's definitely not easy. It's often intimidating. It's sometimes scary. It definitely requires courage. There's a lot of things that I've done that, I felt very uncomfortable doing, but I've been doing them because they're essentially in service of my why and my desire to be a catalyst. The people that I've worked with in my career, they're massively creative. They're wonderfully diverse, very intelligent, but yet they're often overwhelmed to the point of effective inaction by all the conflicting and the confusing information regarding their personal development and their careers. And I know that feeling of overwhelm intimately. I've had it many times. So when I was reflecting again, I developed a shorthand way of expressing all of this, everything that I've tried to articulate so far, but also as a mantra, so it helps keep me on track, to be honest. And so that is making choices, leaving a mark, and generating fulfillment. That's making choices, leaving a mark, and generating fulfillment. And this is the space that I really want to create going forward for Art of Procurement, Art of Procurement 3.0. It's a place where we clarify, we curate, we coalesce the wisdom and the experiences of catalysts. It's a space for procurement professionals like you and like me who are committed to creating value through personal and professional development, who are or aspire to be change agents, who want to create measurable, sustainable, positive change. You'll already have started seeing this in our This Week in Procurement newsletter. So I've been attempting to connect and contextualize the interesting articles that I want to share, or examples of others who are demonstrating the behaviors that I want to learn from, all through that lens of making choices, leaving a mark, and generating fulfillment. So that's my why. My why is my why. My why need not be your why. At face value, my why can sound corny. It can sound naive. Maybe it is, but it's something that I really care deeply about. And while I may not be very good at making a difference, I may be, that's not really for me to say. It's definitely why I get out of bed every single day. my family, my business partners, my clients, and in the context of procurement, my stakeholders, my suppliers, our customers, clients, and consumers. Those external constituents that we work with, they know this about me and they've come to expect this as my commitment to them. And that really helps keep me honest and in integrity with what my why is. So can everyone be fulfilled by every choice I make? Of course not, but using that mindset at least helps me steer a consistent course. I believe that we're each personally responsible and accountable for each choice that we make. Maybe that we don't feel we had many or even any alternative options when we make a decision, but nevertheless, it was our choice to make and we made it. That's my perspective. And of course, I would love to hear yours. I think Art of Procurement 3.0, it might not be for everyone, but that's okay. Art of Procurement is for those who choose to embrace uncertainty, for those that actively identify problems and seek to solve them. It's for those that choose to be accountable for where they are and for making the choices necessary to achieve the goals that they've set out for themselves. I think Art of Procurement is a safe space for those that really recognize the power of their own choices. And I believe that generating fulfillment, I mentioned that earlier, is a function of making the choices and of leaving a positive mark. And so at Art of Procurement, we seek to explore the making of choices, as in creating choices and actually choosing one specific action over another. And one thing you'll start to see is the sharing of case studies where professionals and leaders have achieved the impact, so they've left the mark, to which we aspire. We'll explore the why, the how, and the what of the choices that they made. The last thing that I want to touch on today is just to share my thinking about content in 2018. So how does this all fit together? Long-term listeners will know that I've talked before about the fact that the content I've shared to date has really been more opportunistic, I'd say, versus strategic in how I have actually shared it. So put another way, the content has been based on sharing the experience of those I've had the opportunity to interview, versus it being planned as part of a longer term content calendar. So I'm not talking about doing a 180-degree switch. I actually love the spontaneity of talking to professionals and leaders from all walks of procurement and outside of procurement about the things that make them tick, about their opinions, about their experience. But what I mean for 2018 and the way I think about content is being more proactive rather than reactive in inviting guests who can share the perspectives that fit with our goal of making choices, of leaving a mark, and of generating fulfillment. That is, being a catalyst. And so on Art of Procurement this year, we're going to focus on 6 components that are really in service with our why. And honestly, some of this content, it could be classified in any number of the components. I don't think of them as silos, but really as guideposts, as the kind of content that I'm really trying to bring to you through Art of Procurement. So in no particular order, and that's important, I'm not ranking these above one another in terms of their importance. But the first one is content related to challenging the status quo. So it'll be topics such as procurement evolution, transformation, mindset, having the courage of conviction, and being the catalyst within your organization. Second is customer centricity. So delivering a customer-centric value proposition. We'll look at who our customers are. What do they think? It would actually be great to get some on the show. If you have any customers who you think would be willing to come onto the show, please let me know. I want to talk about how we can design a customer-centric experience, how we can align our capabilities and our metrics with the needs of the business, and how we can go beyond savings, expand our value proposition, something I've been very passionate about, really through the life of Art of Procurement. Next, we want to focus on what Seth Godin calls real skills. So they're the behavioral skills that allow us to really amplify the impact of our technical knowledge. These are the skills that I think, and I know many of you think from talking to you, these are at the heart of what we want to accomplish if we are really to make a mark and to generate fulfillment. Because at the end of the day, everything that we do is human to human. Of course, those technical skills are still important. So we're going to continue to focus on our core technical skills and also the building blocks of the procurement organization. So what are the core technologies, delivery models, and how are they evolving, access to talent, and access to supply market expertise, and also look at specific category episodes. The fifth content component will be conversations about owning the inevitable, which in my mind really is digitization. We can only project so much of the impact of digitization, and so I want to explore and really demystify the advanced technologies. I want to separate the hype from the reality as much as we possibly can, understand use cases, both inside of procurement, but also outside of procurement. That often gives a really good guide to the art of the possible. And also look at companies doing really interesting things. It's here that we'll seek to better understand blockchain, AI, RPA, machine learning, the Internet of Things, 3D printing, lots of other buzzwords that I could mention. We've touched on those in parts in the show, but I want to understand them a little bit more. And what's really important, again, is taking away what the reality is, how we're going to be impacted by it, how we can embrace it so that it's actually a positive rather than negative. And then finally, but by no means least, I want to showcase the thinking of catalysts from within our community. So this might mean handing over the reins from time to time, something I haven't really done before on Art of Procurement, but to others within our community, whether it's as a guest host or perhaps TED-style solo show presentations. So that's what the team at Art of Procurement and I have been working on over the past couple of months, and the why behind some of the changes that I'm making. Making those changes, when I talk about them like this, it actually sounds simple, but it certainly isn't easy. And of course, that's what being a catalyst is all about. It's about picking maybe a difficult course, but a course that you really believe in, a course that's really in service of your why. And it's going to be a collective effort. I think as a community, we really need to support one another in embracing the often difficult challenges that we have to take on. Our commitment within Art of Procurement is to help build the tools, the frameworks, and the opportunities that can help us all really find fulfillment and make a difference. The way I'm thinking about it, what I'm really excited about, is bringing together this toolkit for catalysts, if you will. That's really how we're framing and shaping that within our discussions inside of Art of Procurement. Okay, so I'd love to hear your thoughts and your reactions. Also, I'm always open to suggestions for topic ideas, and I'm really interested if you have any ideas that you want to share with your fellow catalysts. I will include a link to my email address in the show notes. Those show notes will be at artofprocurement.com/episode 169. That's artofprocurement.com/episode 169. I read every email and I'm really eager to read yours. I'm really excited with this change that we're making. I think it's just an evolution. It's a building on what's come before, but I would love to hear your reaction. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. All right. Well, thank you so much for investing your valuable time today and listening to today's show. I just hope that you have a great rest of the week, and I'll be back again next Monday with another interview show. So until then, take care and talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Art of Procurement. To find an archive of all past episodes, you can go to artofprocurement.com/episodes. And to ensure you never miss another show, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe.